In this video, we will be adding dimensions to the flange part, the flange bearing that we have here. So the first thing we need to do is let's take a look at some of our dimensioning options. Even though you may get an isometric view that has these dimensions, this is not necessarily the appropriate places to put dimensions on your part. So we're going to look at our front view here, and we can see that we'll need to place a dimension for our height here, or an overall height. So let's start there. We change to our dimension layer, and we'll select our corners for our overall height here. And one thing we want to take note is see how we have a 4-inch that has 4 decimal places, but when we look over here on our drawing, we only have to 2 decimal places to the hundredths place. So we are going to need to make an adjustment there. So the first thing we want to do is go to the annotation in our dim style, select modify. To primary units and select the down arrow and choose 2 decimal places. Go ahead and select OK and close, and you'll see the adjustment made to your dimension. So if you notice after you've already placed some dimensions that you need to change the size, or maybe you need to change the precision or something of that nature, it will automatically change any dimension that you've placed here. Then we'll go ahead and choose our dimension. And again, we want to choose our corners. We don't want to choose an inside corner with something like this, because if you look in here, see how we don't have a break between our extension line and our part, and that's not good dimensioning practice. So we'll just pull that grip back here to the corner, and now you'll see that we have this break here. We don't need to place a dimension here because we have the overall dimension, so it's very easy to determine that dimension. We can go ahead and place our dimensions now on our top view. Notice here we don't have a center mark, so let's take care of that first. We want to go back into our annotation in our dim style, modify. And you want to go to the symbols and arrows tab. Notice right now, if we place a center mark, it's just going to be a plus. We want to add the line so that we can easily dimension the center point of our circles or our holes. So we're going to go ahead and come up to our dimension, and you can add a center mark. However, if you add a dimension to your part here, so we're going to do the diameter. Notice when I do that, I already have that dimension symbol there. So notice this is something we did the outside diameter so that we had the larger center line. If we would have done the smaller one, it would not extend as far as this one does. So we will need to go ahead and add this information. So all we have to do is double click. And then you want to utilize this just like you would a Word document. I'm going to left arrow over so I can add this information right here, the 2 times diameter 0.75. So let's go ahead and make sure it's not highlighted. Let's get to the side. We want to go to our symbol. Actually, we need to put our 2 times in first, sorry. So let's put our 2. And then we'll do our times, capital X and a space. So 2 times, and then we need to add our diameter. And it's 0.75. We're going to hit our enter, and we need to add our counterbore symbol. So we want to go in here. If we can't find one, because it's sometimes a little more difficult to find, we can always draw a symbol that we might be missing. So in this case, we are going to do that. So we have 2 times 0.75 counterbore with our diameter 1.0. And then we'll also want to add, move to the arrow of the other side, our through symbol, which we'll have to make, and 0.125, which gives the depth of this part here. So let's go ahead and do a quick draw, zoom in here of our counterbore symbol. And then again, our through symbol. And we'll place our, get this nice and in. There you go. And that's properly dimensioning this part here. And again, notice our center marks. we need to also go ahead and place our radius for our part. And we could select this on the same view, or we could also, if it's cleaner, to pull it off on the other side. There we go. And notice we have one larger dimension here, and it probably is a good idea to be consistent, or actually probably it is. So we're going to add our center mark to our radius there. And now we have 2 radii. And let's go ahead and finish up our dimensions for our outside cylinder here. This is the large cylinder. We're actually going to move this to the inside for now, because maybe that's a little bit cleaner to look. In actuality, let's move it to this side, because we're going to have to dimension the length between our centers of our holes. And then we can go ahead and place our second diameter information here. And again, this is going to have the added information. So we're going to double click, arrow over to the left-hand side, and you want to add the diameter symbol. 1.50, we'll hit enter to get that 0.25 on the other side. We are going to have to add our angle piece to show the countersink. And then we'll go ahead and arrow to the right-hand side and put in our times. Make sure we have a space there. Times, and then we need to put our 82 degrees. 82, go back up to our symbol. There's our degree. So the only thing that we're really missing here is to go ahead and add that countersink. Let's get that nice and wide. There we go. Okay. And then let's go ahead and add our dimensions from our center point. Again, notice I'm choosing the end of our center mark so that we still have that extension line as that break between our parts. And then we also need to dimension the location of these 2 holes here. And notice how I embed that smaller dimension inside the larger dimension. And we are still missing 1 more diameter, which is the hole that goes all the way through. And we can actually drag this over here because we do have that space. But imagine trying to place all of these down here. It would not be easily read. So we have our radii here. We have our 2 holes. We have our cylinder. We have our center lines. We have everything marked so that we can create this part. Now, this is how to dimension one way. You may also see that when we have cylinders, you may see people place a diameter on this cylinder side here, where we would just add, again, we'll highlight, go to the arrow side, move it to the left. So sometimes you'll see things like this because you're actually dimensioning a cylinder to show that cylinder. So we can actually erase this line here. And that would be a proper dimensioning of the cylinder. Okay. All right, I think that's all we have here. We'll double check. We've got our center mark. We've got our cutting plane. We have everything labeled. And that is how you dimension your flange bearing.